Okay, if you're an artist who is completely overwhelmed with trying to figure out all the things about what it takes to sell your work and launch your art career, this video is for you. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be covering all of your biggest questions about what it takes to really launch your career, sell your work, and not get scammed, and just in general, how to navigate the art world. So I hope you are ready for my obviously unscripted, somewhat unhinged advice on what you need to do to really build a foundation for your career and take care of yourself. By the way, my name is Keisha Bruce. I have been an artist for 20 plus years. My work has been in more than 200 exhibitions in 15 countries. And you may have seen some of my work in the museums you've visited. So, needless to say, I know a few things about what it takes to build a career, a lasting career as an artist. And I'm here to tell you everything I know. Okay, I'm back. We're in the living room today. I have my notes. I have 3 pages of questions I've collected over the last, I don't know, forever. And we're just gonna, let's go. First question. I need information on websites and including things like what should be on a website, how should it be best organized, etc. Okay, that's a lot of question that deserves its own video, so I might have to do that. But for now, I'm gonna just give you the bare bones, what you absolutely need to know and what you should be thinking about before you even get into building a website. Websites can be expensive and time consuming. The thing that's gonna really slow you down is trying to be perfect when really what you need is simplicity. The hosting platform you choose doesn't matter. Having a good website has nothing to do with the hosting platform. So my advice is just pick one. The most important thing is to decide what you need your website to do. Do you want it to just be a portfolio hosting website? Do you want to be able to sell stuff from that website? If so, you need to pick a hosting plan that includes e-commerce. There's so many options. I'm not going to spend time going into all the options that you can choose because there's so many and there's really no wrong answer. It just depends on your budget and your skill level in terms of the back end, like building it. And you can learn that through tutorials. YouTube University, hello, that's why I'm here. So don't spend that much time choosing a platform because you can always migrate it to something else if you change your mind. You should spend way more time thinking about how you want to organize your website. That's why I chose this question. So no matter whether you're selling from your website directly or not, you definitely want to make sure that you have your contact information. You would be surprised how many artists build a website and then I have to hunt around for how to get a hold of them. Like, where's your email address? Because real talk, I'm not filling out that form like it's 1997. I'm not doing that. If you have to, go get a burner account through Gmail and put that bad boy on there if you're afraid of spam. But honestly, if you're so afraid of spam that you're willing to miss out on sales, what are you even building a website for? Put your contact information on the footer, on the bottom of every page of your website. Now, speaking of website pages, you're gonna have an index page where they land. I want all of your most powerful information there. Gorgeous, sexy pictures of your artwork. Below the fold, I want to see a photo of you in your studio or a photo that's like a headshot or a portrait. You cannot hide behind your work. You need to be on your website. So that's your first page. Then of course you're going to have a page that has your artwork. So a gallery page, all your artwork looks gorgeous. People can look at it, buy it, whatever. Next page, you're going to have an info page. Again, a photo of you needs to be on that page. Bio and a CV. If you don't have a bio, maybe I should make a video about how to write a bio. You need an artist bio, and if you have your CV, you can make a link where they can click down or click over and see the PDF if you want. If you don't have a CV, don't worry about it. Just put a picture of yourself and a bio. And then you could have a projects page, like if you've done special projects that you want to highlight, that's a beautiful place to do that. I'm working on building that for my own website. And I think it kind of shows your work in action rather than just on the gallery page where it's like, look, I made this, look, I made this, look, I made this. It's like, okay, also I've collaborated with these other people, or here's a show I did at this special place, or here's a pop-up thing I did, or a collaboration with a local company that I did. I would love to see that at an artist's website because it gives me more context for their work. Yeah, I'm just going to stop there because I could go on and talk about websites for hours and what artists do wrong, because I've seen so many bad artist websites that it brings me pain. Frankly, this deserves its own video. We'll get there. Okay. I would like information on the differences between galleries, coffee shop shows, online galleries, and what are the differences? What's best? What are the advantages or drawbacks of each venue? How does one find clients? How do you work with them? That's 17 questions all in one, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. So let me just try to dive in. Okay. The first part is easy. The difference between a commercial art gallery and like a coffee shop gallery is that a commercial art gallery is essentially a store that sells original artwork. That's it. That's their only job. Where a coffee shop is a coffee shop that may have one wall or an area that's dedicated to art shows. So that is not their main focus. They are not art dealers. They have just decided that they want to incorporate that into their business because people enjoy having coffee in a beautiful environment. So it adds, having great decor is part of the whole like third space vibe. And how you sell with a commercial gallery is completely different from how you would sell when you're doing a show at a coffee shop. One, if you're doing a show at a coffee shop, most likely you're doing 100% of the marketing promotion. They've given you a space for free or for a very low percentage, and it's your job to do all of the sales and marketing. If they do some of it, that's awesome. Some places do, but you can't expect that because that's not their main job, right? Their job is to sell coffee, and that's what they're going to be focusing on. Whereas a commercial gallery, that's all they do. They probably, if they're a good gallery, have an entire marketing apparatus already set up, and they're plugging you into that. So they're going to expect you to provide certain things. You're going to have a CV, your resume, or your bio, high quality images of your work, and then they're going to expect those things. By the time you are working with a gallery, this stuff should be like basic. You should know this stuff already and have it ready to go. Otherwise, most galleries probably won't even work with you, because if they're the ones that are already paying all the overhead and doing all the marketing, at the very least, you need to come to the table with completed artwork, images, and information about yourself that they can use for marketing. It's a group effort. It's a team effort. You're doing a collaboration with the commercial art gallery. A lot of people don't think about it that way, but that's exactly what it is. You are working with another entity and you're both going into business together, and the business is to sell your art, and that's why you both get a commission when the sales happens. That makes sense? Good. What are the drawbacks? Oh, in online galleries. I don't know. I've never worked with, I don't know if you mean like art galleries who host online exhibitions. Frankly, I don't see the point of those. I've never known anybody to make any real career progress or sales through an online gallery. And also, I would be really suspicious if that online exhibition requires an entry fee or for you to pay any type of marketing fee. You're not going to get your money back out of that. Fight me in the comments section if you've done an online exhibition and it ended up selling you a ton of money and getting you a ton of press. I'll wait. Because I've been around the block a long time and I've never seen anybody have anything come from any of those things. But I could be wrong. I don't know all the things. I just know most of the things. Okay, so those are the main differences. What's best? There's no right or wrong. Neither one is best. They're just two completely different avenues for selling your work. And it might depend on the stage of career that you are in. If you're a newer artist, or if you don't have a lot of exhibitions under your belt, like you're really new to like building your work, building your practice, building a following, a coffee shop show is probably more your speed because it's a great stepping stone exhibition. Whereas by the time you're working with commercial galleries, they do expect you to have some sort of following and have a real sense of where your career is headed, and that you already have an art business, because now you're going into business, you're partnering with another business. In my experience as an art dealer, I found it really difficult to work with really young, not age, but like young and career-wise artists, because they just didn't have the tools in place to help to make my job easier as a dealer. They were harder to work with because they just weren't ready. There's just like stuff they didn't know yet that they just needed to be a little bit further down the road. there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just, that's just the stage you're in. Everybody starts somewhere and you learn a little more, get a little more experience, and then you move on to the next level. That's normal. So neither one is better. It's really about where you are and where you are with your work and where you are in terms of confidence and experience in your art practice and in your art business. Drawbacks, every venue has a drawback. Commercial galleries, hopefully you're going to be on the same page with them and you're going to get along with them and everybody's going to agree that we split this 50-50 and all is right with the world, they pay you on time. That is not always the case. Newsflash, sometimes people aren't honest. But coffee shop drawback, people go to coffee shops mostly for coffee, but they do buy art off the wall. I've literally seen people buy art off the walls at restaurants and coffee shops. But again, that's not the coffee shop's main focus. So you're going to have to do some of the heavy lifting there to make sales. So that would be, I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks of a venue that's outside of the traditional art space. But don't let that discourage you. In fact, I am a huge fan of artists showing work outside of traditional venues. And I will put a link here to a video that I made about alternative spaces to show your work that I think are fantastic. And then I have seen work for artists. Let's see. How do you find clients? And by, I'm assuming you mean collectors, like buyers for your work. That is a very complicated and longer video, but I'm gonna give you the highlights. So if I were gonna start over, this is what I would do. Number one, before I even started doing all of the marketing stuff, I would make sure that I even had enough artwork and that I had like 25 to 35 paintings that I feel really confident about. They are in a specific style that I've developed that is specific to me. And I've developed that over time by making a lot of bad art. Because you remember, your question is about how do you find clients? It's hard to find clients if you don't have a body of work and you don't have good work. I'm always saying this, your work has to be at least medium good to go to market. I think a lot of artists set themselves up for failure by trying to find buyers, clients, customers, whatever you want to call them, before their work is even worthy of being bought, right? Because in the beginning, you're going to make a bunch of really bad art. I know I did. I still make bad art. In fact, I encourage it. You're going to make a bunch of bad work and then you're going to wonder why no one bought it. And then you're going to be sad and then you're going to be discouraged. And it doesn't need to be like that, because what you should be doing is focusing on making the best work you can make at that time. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not talking about waiting until everything's perfect. We're talking about building a solid foundation and then showing your work. You make the art, then you're going to show it somehow. I'm assuming you're going to use, I don't know, Instagram, some online platform. That's a start. That's great because lots of people can get their eyes on it. But I always like to encourage people to do an in-person thing, even if it's in your living room or a local coffee shop, or I don't know, download my list of venues, places that you can do like a pop-up show. It could even just be for a week. I think it's important to get the experience of showing your work to real life humans and having conversations in front of the work, about the work, with people who are viewing the work. Because in reality, that's what's gonna take to build a career long term. You're probably not gonna just be able to build a career just showing your work on Instagram. You can't rely on platforms to build a career. That's really your job, is to find one. That's why you need your website. But so you're going to start showing your work in places. You're going to start sharing it online. And then you're going to start to build a mailing list. I cannot stress enough how important it is for artists to start collecting contact information of the folks who show up for their events, who show interest in their work. Because again, these platforms like Instagram and TikTok, those come and go. What happens if your account gets hacked? What happens if the algorithm decides that you are no longer worthy? That happened to me in 2020. And I saw a huge drop off in sales that were coming directly from Instagram. But I didn't freak out because I had 2,000 people on my mailing list. You need to have a place where you are collecting information, contact information about people who've shown interest in your work. Never leave that up to someone else. So I use MailerLite. I'll leave my affiliate link for that below. I have tried all the different email marketing software, and the one that I find that is easiest and the cheapest for artists is MailerLite. I am really impressed with their functionality, and the learning curve is not that steep. You can make it as complicated as you want it to be, but I encourage you to just have a list and at least 4 times a year send out a newsletter. Like, that's minimum. That is absolutely minimum, 4 times a year. And as you're meeting people, collecting business cards, and asking folks, hey, can I add you to I have a mailing list for my artwork. Would you like to see new work when it becomes available? Add those folks to your list. I cannot stress how important it is to build an email list, and that over time it starts to grow exponentially. The email list is the way that you stay in contact with those people and turn people who are casually interested in your work or who just may want to support you into buyers. Art collectors are just people that buy your work. If you want to give it a fancy art collector, usually people are talking about rich people, but there aren't that many rich people to support all of the artists. You just need regular ass buyers. Whoever buys your work, it is what it is. I feel like I took a tangent there. What was the original question? No, I answered it. The original question was about finding clients. Girl, that is a whole video in and of itself. Like, how to build a client base. And it's not something that happens in a year. Like, my client base, I started building it back in the 90s. Like, there are people who've been following my career since before I even had art dealers and was showing work in big galleries, or before I was ever in museum collections. These are relationships that you cultivate over time. Because by the time someone's buying a $7,000 painting from you, they've decided that they know, like, and trust you, and then want to live with the thing that you made in their home for a very long time. That's a commitment, and that type of commitment comes about from building a relationship. You can ask most art dealers, how often do people just walk in off the street and drop thousands of dollars on a painting without any provocation? I bet the answer is almost never. I opened a gallery with another artist friend of mine back in 2011 in New York City, and that never happened to us. That's not how it works. Okay, I need information on how to present my work both physically and digitally. I'm looking down at my notes, by the way. That's what's happening. What Photoshop tips make work most presentable? Framing versus non-framing. Damn, this is a whole series of videos to answer this question, but I'm gonna do my best. One, I always tell folks the documentation of your work is really important because that's the truth. And I always say, get your work professionally photographed. But listen, we all have really high resolution or decent resolution cameras nowadays. So you can just, if you don't have a fancy camera, you can just use your iPhone and make sure you have good lighting. And then you're gonna put that in Photoshop, and I usually just go in there and mess around with the contrast. And if the color isn't what I want it to be, then I change that. But that will look different on other people's monitors. So I just do the best I can. And then I make a file. I usually make it in 3 sizes. So obviously you're gonna start with the largest resolution, then I make a medium, and then I make a mini for Instagram or my website, because you don't wanna put a ginormous 1 gigabyte freaking image on your website. That's silly. And then label the image with the title and your name. Don't lose images on your computer because you didn't label them properly. And as an art dealer, that was one of my biggest pet peeves. Don't send me 20 random images all with no name on them. I don't know who they came from. What am I looking at? Label the file with the information that I need so that if it gets lost and separated from the rest of your stuff that you sent me, I know what the hell I'm looking at and who it came from. That pisses me off. Can you tell? That is very annoying to me. It's just a good practice. And I think it's really important to develop those type of practices early on in your career, because they are the things that will trip you up later. Do it now. Learn it now. Make it a habit now. So now you have your images somewhere on your computer, properly labeled. Now we'll move on to framing of original artwork. Okay, if you do works on paper, I would not spend money on framing. That is such a mistake. Unless, of course, you have an exhibition coming up. And even then, I don't think like brand new artists should spend a ton of money on framing, because it's a massive investment and those things can sit around in your closet unsold for months or years. And that's really demoralizing to have a bunch of unsold but expensively framed artwork. On the other hand, if you have a plan for, I'm going to start pitching these shows around town, I have one show lined up, and then I'm going to try to get a show here, then it might make sense to invest in framing. Honestly, investing in framing when you're at the very beginning of your career can be a money pit. Because until you have validation that you have buyers or that you have shows lined up, it's just an easy way to lose a lot of money, and then you're gonna be sad. I don't want that for you. Okay, what now? What now? Oh, this is a really good question. When should an artist start a Patreon? What are your thoughts on building a Patreon audience? I had Patreon for a long time. Basically, my Patreon supporters paid my rent on my studio every month. I have no beef with the platform. Like Patreon, the company, was great to me. I don't know how it functions now, but they invited me on one of their shows. They were like super supportive and actually promoted my page a bit. Patreon was great. Will it be different for you because you're at the beginning of your career? Yeah, results may vary. But here's the other thing. It's okay to start and then decide you don't want to do it anymore. I did it. You can start a Patreon and see if people are interested. And maybe if only 4 people sign up, great. That's another $100 a month that you can devote to your art, right? That's fine. Or use that to pay for your website. Yeah, I think I'm saying yay to Patreon if you want to try that. Try things. It's okay to try things, and it's okay to fail. I actually think that failure is the hidden ingredient in an art career. Like, you have to have a certain amount of failure so that you know what works. And it builds up a thicker skin so that you know that failure doesn't mean the end, that a no doesn't mean no forever. It could just mean not right now. No, not right now. Get used to failing and falling. You're going to make a ton of bad work. You're going to do shows that don't sell anything. You're going to email people and they're going to ghost you. It happens. And you're going to be all right. And you're going to build a career regardless. This is a good one. How and where do you find grants to apply for? Or should I be spending my time doing art fairs? Or what about conventions? Oh, you mean like I'm not in that part of the art world. Here's the thing. There are many art worlds that intersect. I don't know about cons, right? Like where they have Artist Alley. I'm really interested. I want to go to one, like the conventions, but I don't do that type of art. I don't do illustration or that type of like character, like animation, character design, that type of work. I come from the weirdo academic part of the art world where everything is about exhibitions and selling expensive pieces and getting into museums. The museum track. But I do know about grants. I know a lot about grants. I know about writing them. I know about I'm managing grants. I know about running grant panels. I know about being a panelist. This is a big topic, and it really does deserve its own video, but I'm just gonna say this. It shouldn't cost you money to apply to a grant. Don't apply to any grant that costs you money. I think getting into the habit of applying for grants, even if you don't win, is such a good thing because it forces you to really think about your work critically and talk about your work and explain it to someone who doesn't know anything about you. And that is always a good practice. Whether or not you win the money, doing that is so good because it's going to be so impactful long-term for your career. You're going to have to be talking about your work and writing about your work a lot, and applying for grants is excellent practice. Try it. Again, like, you can just try and fail. That's okay too. Like, I think a lot of people are like, what's the perfect way? There's no perfect way, and you're never going to start out perfect. So give that idea up right now. Just let it go. Give yourself some grace to do something imperfectly. Apply. If it's free, apply. Also, if you have questions, you can always email the grant manager or email the organization that's giving the grant. Sometimes they will get on a phone call with you and help you with parts of the grant you don't understand. Most artists are just too afraid to call. Don't be that artist. Call, get the information you need. It gives you a little bit of a competitive edge when it comes to the application pool. Just call and get your questions answered. And then apply. And if you don't get it, apply again the next cycle. It makes me so sad when I see artists get one rejection and decide, that's it, I'm just not good enough. Dude, 5,000 people applied to that grant application and they had 10 grants to give away. It doesn't mean your art wasn't good. It just means that they didn't have enough money and had to make some really tough decisions based on the 5,000 applicants that wanted these funds. Apply and reapply. Yeah, that's my best advice for people who are looking to apply for grants. Where to find them? There are lots of places to look for grants online. There's whole websites that just do that. I know New York Foundation for the Arts has a whole section on their website that is national and international grants and opportunities for artists. Go check that out. And from there, you'll probably find some other resources. Maybe I'll do a video about grants and where to find them and how to know when they're not really grants and they're really scams. Because a lot of these people out here are doing money grabs and they are preying on your hopes and dreams. And they're charging you $25, $35, $45 for an application fee with no intention of ever returning that money back to the artists in their communities. We don't do that. So I don't recommend that, especially early in your career. I know you're trying to build your resume. Don't pay entry fees. Tell those organizations to go find some other way to fund their salaries. That's my hot take. And they can be mad. I don't care. You don't get to build your organization on the backs of the people that you say that you're trying to help and support. Anyway, one more question because this video long as hell. Oh, I love this one. How do you make time for your work? I would say do a critical analysis of 1 week of your life. Do a time analysis, like where are you spending your time now? And then look at it and say, is this how and where I want to be spending my time? I hate when people say we all have the same 24 hours in the day, because the truth is we don't. Some of us have medical conditions. Some of us are caretakers to our family members. Some of us are parents. Some of us have 2-hour commutes to our day job that we need to keep the lights on so we're not homeless. Yeah, so we don't all have the same 24 hours. What I would urge you to do is to let go of an idea of what you think your ideal artist's life should look like and find a little tiny chunk of time that you have and adapt your practice or your project to the amount of time you have, not the other way around. If you know you only have 90 minutes a day to work on your art, maybe you're gonna need more time to finish that 7-foot painting. And I think that's okay. One of the things that I see, the trap I see a lot of artists fall into is having big dreams. That's what I love about artists is we have such big dreams and so much passion and we have so many great ideas, but then we set ourselves up for disappointment and failure and we compare ourselves to others when the reality is you only have the time that you have in the life that you have in the body that you have. And so I'm gonna need you to chill out. I'm gonna need you to chill out and stop setting up these impossible expectations for yourself. And I'm not saying don't push yourself. I'm saying you also get to give yourself grace and be kind to yourself. And you get to have space to also have joy and fun with your family and your kids and your dog. Sell your art, not your soul. Bye.